So welcome everyone to another Sunday Zoom meeting. And last time we finished the Song of Prayer. And so previous to starting the Song of Prayer, we had taken a poll in our group, the A Course in Miracles with Keith group. If you're not in the group, by all means, come and join us, but you must agree to the group rules before being admitted. So watch out for that screen where you tick the box. We had a poll and it was a poll between doing the miracle principles and doing the Song of Prayer, and the Song of Prayer won by a 3-2 majority or 3-1 majority. And so now we're going to actually get to doing the miracle principles. And we'll see if we can do maybe 7 or 8 principles each time and get through them that way. We may not get that many done today, just because miracle principle number 1 is a big one, but we'll see how we get on with it. And so again, after each principle, we'll give an opportunity if anyone wants to ask a question. So the miracle principles, one of the things to be aware of in the course is that Jesus really led Helen and still leads us on a journey from duality into non-duality. So, you know, at the beginning of Helen's scribing, Jesus spoke to her much more dualistically, and he would have sometimes, you know, when he's talking about these miracle principles, it seems like he's saying miracles are something that you do. In other words, that it's the accepted general understanding of what miracles are, that you would do something that changes the world in some way, shape, or form, instead of changing your mind about the world, which is what the miracle is actually all about. So we'll come across that as we go through some of the principles. The other thing you'll notice in the principles is there is actually a lot of repetition and redundancy, you could say, in the principles, where he's just saying the same thing over and over again in different ways. But again, that you can say that about the entire course. So you'll notice that as we go through the principles as well. Right, so with that, let's begin and tackle the first miracle principle. This is in chapter 1, if anyone's looking for it. Okay, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So what we would say about this principle is that the entire course is saying that the separation from God never happened. And so everything that seemed to happen afterwards is unreal. It's a dream. And if I have a dream tonight and I'm being chased by a mouse, and I have another dream where I'm being chased by a monster, and I have another dream where I'm being chased by 100 monsters, the fact that it's all a dream means I'm never in any greater danger in one dream than another, because it's not real. And so when we understand that, you know, the miracle forgiveness, in case you're wondering, exact same thing. It's a changing of your mind. It's a shift in perspective. And so it doesn't matter whether you're being chased by a mouse or by 100 monsters. You're not in any greater danger in one dream than another. You're not in any danger at all. And so, you know, we're a big fan of Ken's famous line, what does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind? What does it have to do with me, the me that's with Jesus above the battleground or in the cinema? And that's the equivalent of, you know, dreaming in your bed at night and realizing you're dreaming and going, what does the dream have to do with me? It can't hurt me. So let's have a look at some of the things from the rest of the course that just sort of, because really, I suppose with the miracle principles, you're talking about an overture where Jesus introduces themes that he's going to return to again and again and again throughout the text, throughout the manual, and throughout all the sections of the course. So here's a definition of a miracle. A miracle is a correction. So it's not something we do, it's a correction. It does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. So the miracle is where you join with Jesus or the Holy Spirit in your mind, and you look at the devastation that is your life. And you allow Jesus, the Holy Spirit, to reassure you in your mind that what you see is false. It has nothing to do with you as spirit. It might have a lot to do with the body, but the most repeated expression throughout the entire course is, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. So the miracle is a correction. It does not create, nor really change at all. It's not interested in changing the world. Seek not to change the world, seek to change your mind about the world. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. So there's two levels to that. One, the world isn't real. Two, my ego thoughts are not my real thoughts. My only real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. And so you're also joining with Jesus or the Holy Spirit above the battleground in the cinema. And you're looking on the devastation of your thoughts, the anger, the hatred, the pain, the loss that's associated with being a dream character, that's associated with being the figure in the dream. The pain, the health problems, the isolation, the insecurity. When I misidentify as the body and not a mind. So with the miracle, I'm going back to my mind. I'm coming out of the world and my body. As a later miracle principle will tell us, it's a shift into invisibility, not the body. So the world is a dream, and my thoughts are not my real thoughts. They're the ego's thoughts, which is nothing but a part of me that wants to be separate, but it's not my right mind. It's my wrong mind. And so the miracle looks on the devastation of my thoughts and reminds me that they're not true. I'm not those thoughts. So this is from chapter 12 in the manual. Awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. They watch the dream figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die, yet they are not deceived by what they see. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. Unity alone is not a thing of dreams, and it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream, beyond all seeming, and yet surely theirs. So that's miracle-mindedness, knowing that you're dreaming. That's what we want to try and foster in our life, being with Jesus or the Holy Spirit in our mind, instead of being spiritually unconscious in our ego thoughts, and realizing we're dreaming the world and dreaming ego thoughts. And all we want to do is we want to join with Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and let them look at our ego with us. That's a very important line there. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. So the problem is not that we're dreaming. The problem is that we think parts of the dream are good and parts of the dream are bad. That's what keeps us in hell. We've got to be able to foster a mindset which sees everything as the movie. You know, we don't go to the movies and look up at the movie screen and look at one corner of the screen and go, well, that's good. I like that corner. And then look at another corner of the movie screen and go, I don't like that corner. That's bad. It's all just a movie. It's the one movie. As Shakespeare said, nothing is right or wrong, but thinking makes it so. So Jesus is introducing the, idea here with this principle that it's not our job to look for people who are sick in the world and go, that's bad. And I, being the holy ego, I'll fix that for them. Because it's us that's sick. All right. Because we're saying, there's a difference between a body that's sick and a body that's healthy. There's not. There's no body. It's an illusion. It's a movie. So again, the miracle, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. So it's not about you healing the world. Again, Jesus just says, they watch the dream figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. They don't go out and heal them. The sole responsibility for the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. And that's understanding I'm dreaming. God's Son is not a body. So unity alone is not a thing of dreams. So if I know I'm dreaming, and dream figures are going to be born and suffer, get sick, murder each other, die, that's the dream. But, well, let's let the next reading answer that. What do we do instead? If we're not making that real, what do we do instead? And what's this unity that we hold in mind instead of believing in the dream figures coming and going? This is from lesson 158. Christ's vision has one law. It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. It beholds a light beyond the body, an idea beyond what can be touched, a purity undimmed by errors, pitiful mistakes, and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It sees no separation, and it looks on everyone, on every circumstance, all happenings and all events, without the slightest fading of the light it sees. Now, we're not going to be looking for a light with our eyes. This is the light of truth that you can know with your mind when you connect with the Holy Spirit. There's another part in the Course where Jesus says, whoever knows he has Christ in them sees him everywhere except in bodies. We don't want to be looking for our brothers in bodies. We want to be looking for them as an idea beyond the body, not in the dream, not the dream figure, but as Christ. That's the idea. That's the idea beyond dreams of sin. So no matter what's happening with bodies, there's just Christ. Now, when we do that, it doesn't make us cold, where we're looking at the suffering of people and scoffing at it, or becoming, indifferent, or lacking in empathy. That's not what happens. But no matter what way someone's body presents itself, or no matter what way life presents itself, is that we know we're dreaming, and that beyond the dream is the wholeness and the holiness, the birthlessness and the deathlessness of Christ. So the mind that's dreaming itself to be you is dreaming itself to be me, is dreaming itself to be everyone on the call, is dreaming itself to be everyone in the world, is dreaming itself to be all the animals and all the flowers and the trees and all the grains of sand in the oceans. And that mind is in no danger from its dreams. So when we remember what everyone is and that everything else is a dream, once we hold that in our mind, now everything that comes from us, everything we say and do is contributing towards the truth. It doesn't make nightmares real for anyone. Me knowing what I am, that recognition shines itself into the minds of all the sonship because we're all connected. So again, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. He doesn't do anything for anyone else. What he does is he heals himself of the idea that anyone needs anything. And he gets down to that stillness, that sacred silence, that memory of love inside of himself, and that extends into all his brothers. And then you'll just know what to do in the dream that's helpful. But it doesn't really matter. So you may just have words of encouragement or words of joining or words of love or support or sympathy or whatever else you would do within the dream. But you're not making that real. You're holding this perfect vision of Christ that's not a body, not a psychological body or a physical body. And we're remembering that none of the dream figures are real. They'll all come and go, get born and die, and it doesn't mean anything. But we remember Christ. That's the idea. Okay, so this is from lesson 166. Now do we live, for now we cannot die. The wish for death is answered, and the sight that looked upon it now has been replaced by vision, which perceives that you are not what you pretend to be. One walks with you, who gently answers all your fears with this one merciful reply: it is not so. You are not a body. You are not of the world. You are the whole and holy Son of God, and no dreams can touch you. That's my bit at the end, in case that wasn't obvious. One walks with you, who gently answers all your fears with this one merciful reply: it is not so. You are not what you pretend to be. You are not a physical or a psychological body. You are not guilty. You are not lacking. You are whole and holy. You are not in the movie. Step out of it. Join Jesus above the battleground or in the movie. This is from lesson 28. The miracle establishes you dream a dream and that its content is not true. This is a crucial step in dealing with illusions. No one is afraid of them when he perceives he made them up. The fear was held in place because he did not see that he was the author of the dream and not a figure in the dream. Okay, one more quote here on this. But vision sets all things right, bringing them gently within the kindly sway of heaven's laws. What if you recognized this world is an hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realized that those who seem to walk about in it, to sin and die, attack and murder, and destroy themselves are wholly unreal? Could you have faith in what you see if you accepted this? And would you still see it? So again, miracle principle number one, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So whether I have a mild headache or I have an inoperable tumor, or no matter what situation I'm facing, no miracle is easier or harder than another. All you're doing is allowing Jesus to remind you that you're not a body. You're not the insane voice talking to itself in your mind. You're not in the world. It's a dream. So the answer is always the same, remembering that I'm dreaming. Now, Jesus does say to us in the Course that he is not asking us to deny our experience of our bodies or deny our experience of the world. He calls that a particularly unworthy form of denial. Now, not because it's true, because it's not, but for us to deny our belief in it when we absolutely do believe in it is useless and self-delusion. Jesus says, there is no world, and each one must go as far as he can go with that idea at this present time. But, we don't pretend we don't believe what we do believe. And in practice with the miracle, it's not really that we stand before the world and go, you are an illusion. It's much more so that we fall back into a place in our mind, which is with Jesus or the Holy Spirit, where we can't be touched. Where it has no effect on the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind. No matter what's happening in the dream, there is a part I can go to in my mind. I can join Jesus or the Holy Spirit. And nothing that's happening has any effect on the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind. Okay, so that's miracle principle number one. Would anyone like to add anything or ask a question about miracle principle number one before we move on to miracle principle number two?
I would.
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
So it's saying it simply. So if my body's in this dream, which I sort of like understanding, can you dream your body? Can you still dream your body well? So say if you have got a tumor or you have got this, is it still, or is it, according to Course of Miracles and Jesus, is it still okay to use your attention to heal the body in the dream? Or are you wasting time? Or do you just...
No. So Jesus would never advocate in the Course that you stop taking your medicines or that you stop looking after your body or anything like that. He covers that in a lot of detail in chapter 2. And the only thing he is asking is that it's, because first of all, that's magic. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with using magic in the dream, right? Breathing is magic. Eating is magic. And so is medicine. And Jesus is not advocating that we don't use magic. And it's certainly not something that we should feel guilty about in the slightest. The only thing he asks us to do in chapter 2 is that we choose the miracle alongside the magic. And the way that would look in practice is that it's like you're with Jesus or the Holy Spirit in your mind, and you're watching the movie of your movie character in movie world with a movie illness and going to the movie doctor and having the doctor give you the medicine to your movie character. But you're in the cinema with Jesus. It's like, yeah, but what does it have to do with the me that's with Jesus?
But you
What
can
does it have
use
to do with my
mind.
right mind?
Can use the power
Yeah.
of your mind to heal your body in the dream.
Okay, I'll come to that, but I want you to grasp what I'm saying first of all, which is that you have two selves. You have one in the movie, okay, and then you have one that can be non-judgmentally aware of that movie self. This is your right mind. So your wrong mind is the mind that thinks it's in the world, that thinks it's a body. All right. And your right mind is that which can be non-judgmentally aware of your body, and your wrong mind with Jesus. Okay. So, you know, really what you're doing then is you're in the cinema with Jesus, and you're understanding, you know, you're feeling, you know, this, you're bringing the insane part of your mind to the sane part of your mind. So the insane part of your mind is like, well, I'm sick. I have to look after this. I can die. Okay, but you're bringing that to the sane part of your mind, your right mind with Jesus, that knows it's not a body, that knows it wasn't born and can't die. And so you're doing what everyone else does in the dream, but you're remembering that the whole thing is made up. Awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. And it's your dream. Okay, so, you know, there's nobody else choosing to experience wellness or sickness or anything else apart from myself. Okay, now that's happening, you know, that's not being chosen by the face of innocence. It's being chosen by a level of my mind behind that I'm not aware of as the face of innocence. Now, in terms of using your mind to heal your body, there is nothing wrong with doing that, Tracy, as long as you understand it's not healing. As long as you understand that it's not the miracle. Because again, there's nothing evil about magic. By all means, use magic. It could, you know, that's fab. But don't mistake it with healing. It's not healing. And you know, what you would ideally be doing here is that you would be taking medicine, you would be doing whatever visualizations you want to do, but you would have your happiness would not depend on whether you cured the illness or you didn't. Mm-hmm. Because you're not the figure in the dream. You're the dreamer of the dream. So that's bringing the miracle, right? So, you know, do your magic, which is your visualizations and your medicine and everything else. Nobody is saying you shouldn't do that. But the important thing is that the part of you in the cinema with Jesus knows the whole thing is made up. And that you're not in any danger and that you can't die. Does that make sense?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Do we have anyone else then? I thought I saw a different hand up a moment ago.
Yeah, Jason, you had your hand up. Would you like to share something?
Or if you don't want, it's fine too. Go ahead, Jason.
No, it's fine. I thought I'd like to unpack a little bit more, if you can. All expressions of love are maximal. What's he saying there?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here, because I want to dig out some more course quotes. Just give me one moment here. I mean, first of all, I think it's Jesus. Jesus does something quite strange in the course, right? Because he is going to say something one way, and later on in the course, he's going to say something else, and it will completely contradict what he said originally. Let me try and think of some examples offhand. For example, he in a part of the course, he says that, you know, you really shouldn't use the expression "a miracle of healing." You shouldn't use those words together. It confuses two orders of reality. And then later on, he goes out and uses it himself. the miracle of healing. All right. There's parts of the course where he says that Jesus or the Holy Spirit want to use your body. They want to use your eyes and your ears, and they want to use your hands. And then in the Song of Prayer, he says, well, they can't do that. You have to go up to them. Okay. You have to see through their eyes. They can't see through yours. And so if you, so reading the course, if you're really vigilant and you're noticing these things, it would drive you insane. Now, it has to be said, Jesus, although he's contradicting himself in form, he's not contradicting himself on the level of content. He's simply, explaining something in a different way, and he's using it in a different context. But we don't want to get too bogged down in definitions, because even though he does that in the clarification of terms, which really is no such thing as a clarification of terms at all, just like the psychotherapy pamphlet has nothing to do with psychotherapy. The teacher's manual really has nothing to do with teaching. But in the clarification of terms, he's utterly unapologetic for it, because he says he has no interest in definitions and technicalities and all that sort of thing. The only thing he's interested in is atonement. And so it's something interesting and strange that he does in the course, whereby it's almost like as soon as you want to latch onto something and go, this is my truth, this is my definition, and it's almost like it's almost like he prevents you doing that, because words are symbols of symbols and twice removed from reality. He has no interest in anyone clinging to definitions and beating themselves over the head and beating everyone else over the head with that. What he's interested in doing is bringing you beyond the symbols, to bring you beyond the words to an experience. And so that's something he does in the course. Why am I giving you that preamble? Because Jesus does say in the course this. Let me just dig this out. Yes. So this is from chapter 28. And Jesus says, the end of dreaming is the end of fear. And love was never in the world of dreams. So he's saying to us, there's no love in the world. Love is in heaven. And also, he says, forgiveness is an earthly form of love, which as it is in heaven, has no form. Yet what is needed here is given here as it is needed. In this form, you can fulfill your function even here. Although what love will mean to you when formlessness has been restored to you is greater still. Salvation of the world depends on you who can forgive. Such is your function here. So forgiveness is the earthly form of love. There's no love in the dream because love is one. Because within God's knowledge, there is no knower and that which is known. There is no lover and beloved. So there is just knowledge and there is just love. So we can only be love. It's not something you do, and it's never concerned with another. So when you ask me the question then, what does he mean when he says, let's take the miracle principle out again here, all expressions of love are maximal. We're going to deal with this a little bit more in the coming miracle principles, but really the love outside of the dream, outside of consciousness, is what inspires miracles and what inspires revelation, even though it's consciousness that chooses the miracle. So we could sort of say all expressions of forgiveness are maximal, or all expressions of the memory of love. We all have that memory of love in our right mind. And what we do from that place, rather than our ego mindset, all of it is maximal. Does that make sense, Jason?
I think it's a start, and I don't expect an answer. Just here for some reflections. I think it gets disclosed as it needs to be disclosed to me, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But I think, like you're talking about the analogy of you're being chased by a mouse or a big monster.
Mhm.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's like love is going to dismantle all of that stuff, and it doesn't matter whether it seems huge or whether it's very tiny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you join
Yeah.
with, the memory of God's love and oneness in your mind, which is Jesus and the Holy Spirit, the you that's with Jesus, the Holy Spirit, the you that's joined with Jesus, the Holy Spirit, is not the you that's in the dream, that's a body.
Mm. Cool. Thanks.
Pleasure. Where should we go
Good to
next,
be
Eli?
here with you.
Okay, Stephanie and Lloyd, you can unmute yourself.
Go for it, guys.
Oh, hi, guys. I had an insight from Jesus the other day about miracle principle number 1. I just wanted to share it with you because I wrote it down. And it very simply says, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. The order of difficulty is in the world, the body, or the tiny mad idea. The non-difficulty, or the peace, or salvation, is in the miracle. So as I experience the miracle, there is no difficulty.
Beautiful, Stephanie.
Yeah, I just,
Um,
it really gave me an extra kind of depth, because when you receive a message from the Holy Spirit or Jesus, it just comes to you in a holographic way, which just makes so much sense, and it's so utterly simple and all encompassing. So now when I say that sentence, there is no order of difficulty in miracles, it just automatically puts my mind into the miracle and off the world.
yeah. And what I hear you saying in that is that the order of difficulty is within the dream, in my wrong mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, a monster is worse than a mouse. 100 monsters is worse than, one monster. And ultimately, there's no order of difficulty in miracles because in my right mind, I'm not the body that's being chased.
Right.
Is
One
that
thing
how
I
you understand that?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I love that you said, Keith, was that, when we get an inspired thought, it comes from outside consciousness.
It's inspired by the memory of the love and oneness of God. Yes.
Exactly. That's really important.
Yeah.
And another important aspect is the fact that, the mind that, we're talking about is not in the dream.
No.
In other words, the mind is not in the body.
Absolutely.
Body is in the mind. It's really
Yeah.
an important aspect of all of this.
Yeah, because we made the body in order to be mindless.
Right.
Right on.
We didn't want to be minds because we had convinced ourselves that we had destroyed heaven and God was coming for his, pound of flesh, and we were all going to get destroyed and we needed to get the hell out of Dodge. And so I shouldn't even say we, because it was the one mind, and it splintered itself into trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of pieces, and it projected itself out into the world to be a body and forget it was a mind. But the course is a training for us whereby even though we've done that, we can still go back in and be a mind. So that's our training, is to come out of hiding, if you like, and go back into our mind where the Holy Spirit is and where all is well. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Lloyd, thank you. Okay, anyone got anything else to say, Eli, or should we go on with miracle principle number 2?
I think we can go on to miracle principle number 2.
Let's do that. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. Okay, why do miracles not matter? Because they're an illusion. There's no miracles in heaven because nothing needs correction. So Jesus says that forgiveness is the final illusion, because the forgiveness of an illusion is still an illusion. If I dream I have a headache tonight, and I find the solution, which is a box of headache pills, and I take them and the headache's gone, well, the headache pills weren't any more real than the headache. And in the same way, the forgiveness of a world that doesn't exist is also just as non-existent. So it's the final illusion, the difference. And the whole thought system of the Holy Spirit is illusory. Everything in consciousness is illusory. Nothing in consciousness is true. The closest thing we have is the memory of truth, which is the Holy Spirit or Jesus, which is the memory of God's love and oneness that we've brought into the dream. But nothing in consciousness is actually true. And so, what else will we say about miracle principle number 2? Yeah, the difference between the illusion of forgiveness and all the other illusions is that, and the reason why it's the last or final illusion is because it's the illusion that undoes all other illusions before disappearing itself as an illusion. So unlike every other illusion that cements us into the dream, cements us into our identity as bodies, physical bodies and psychological bodies, forgiveness gently starts freeing, loosening the hold that the dream has over us until we're ready to have a happy dream, which doesn't mean that our lives go fabulous and we drive Porsches and we have millions in the bank. It's not what it's about. The happy dream is bring it on. It has no effect on the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind. That's the happy dream. It doesn't matter what's happening. I am not at the world's effect. An insane part of me may be projecting this dream. But once I step into my right mind, it has no effect on the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind. I know I'm not a body. I'm free. I'm still as God created me. I'm not in the world. So that's the happy dream. So forgiveness takes us there, where one by one, we allow the miracle to remind us, what does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in your mind? Well, my body's sick. What does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in your mind? My family was all killed, but what does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in your mind? My reputation's destroyed. What does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in your mind? That's forgiveness. Because there's a place inside of us that remembers perfect peace. And that's what the miracle's about. You go to that peace and you look at your non-peace and you forgive it being there. And the peace will undo the non-peace. That's our task. We bring the darkness to the lie to the truth. We bring our wrong mind to our right mind. That's all you do. And that's our holy instant. And the holy instant does not require that you have no thoughts that are not pure, just none that you would keep. So in practice, what that means is, you join with Jesus and you look at yourself feeling anxious about your health condition or anxious about your impending death or, upset about the death of a loved one. And you know with Jesus that it's all made up. So all you do is you have your sane part of your mind that's not in the dream present. So, it doesn't matter that you haven't got the thoughts of a saint. You just have to be willing, even if you can't let them go now, even if your upset is too great, even if your belief in the movie is too, all you have to do is be willing to not hold on to those beliefs. That's all that's required. All you really have to do is forgive yourself for the insane beliefs and the belief in illusions. And the minute you're doing that, the part of you that's forgiving is your right mind. So you're bringing your wrong mind to your right mind. That's all you're doing. the big mistake, everyone messages me all the time, and we get it in the group and we get it in the Zooms. People are like, I keep doing this. I am, you know, I'm so angry. I get so upset. I can't remember the course. I completely lose myself. And then I feel guilty about it afterwards. And that's the mistake. You know, instead of feeling guilty about it, that's what you bring to Jesus. That's what he wants. That's how you bring a present to Jesus or the Holy Spirit. Instead of feeling guilty and going, I'm a bad course student, you should be going, woohoo, here's a doozy. Here's a place where I've hidden massive amounts of my guilt. So here's my opportunity to get home. Okay. So miracles as such do not matter. Nothing that happens in dreams matters. The only thing that matters is their source. So the only thing that matters is God, love, and Jesus and the Holy Spirit as manifestations of that love, as the memory of that love in the dream of consciousness. So the only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. Well, evaluation is judgment. So the only thing that judges is the ego. Evaluation really involves someone who is an evaluator and that which is being evaluated. So once you see that duality, that separation, that separateness, you know you're talking about the dream. Because again, in God's knowledge, outside of consciousness, there is no knower and that which is known. There is no duality. As Jesus says in the Course, there is no part of mind sufficiently distinct to be aware of anything that's not itself. So miracles as such do not matter. It is the love that inspires them. So maybe what we'll do then, Eli, rather than continuing with the miracle principles, does anyone want to maybe ask any questions that are more general to the course or share anything more general to the course? Go ahead, Susan, you got it. You got in.
Oh, I hate doing that. I hate that. Okay, great. I guess I have to interrupt. So,
oh, good.
Whatever I'm doing, I'm slowly making progress, but I'm not, I know I'm not still doing something right. So I'm doing partially it right because I'm so aware of thought. I don't mind wander. I catch every thought. But what I realized before was I wasn't bringing it to the light. So I'm not judging it. It just comes in. However, I'm still deciding whether it's a good or bad thought, whether I want it or not. So, I'm not judging myself for having it, but I'm still like, nope, don't want that one. Give that one to Jesus. But I keep giving it to Jesus, but I don't think I'm in the light. I'm just giving it to Jesus, but I'm not, because I am not aware of the awareness yet, Keith. So that's what I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. But then I do have moments where the thought will come in and I just feel peace. So or moments of just some days I'm just way more peaceful and other days I can't get the peace for a week, So I feel like when you say bring it to the light and you're trying to be the awareness of Susan, I'm not there. Does that,
yes, but don't tie yourself in knots, Susan, right? The fact is that the way we would mostly live our lives, especially before we do the course, is that our thoughts are happening on autopilot, unobserved.
Yep.
Okay, so the minute you are aware of your thoughts, that's all that's required. And if you're aware of your thoughts, just be aware that you're aware. So you're doing that, Susan. People tie themselves in knots with this. So all it means is that you're awake in your mind with Jesus instead of being unconscious in your ego thoughts happening on autopilot, unobserved. That's what ego is. You know, so the minute, you know, where you're aware of your thoughts happening and that you are choosing them or not choosing them, now there is a non-ego. Once you're doing it without judgment, there is a non-ego presence in your mind, and that's all that's asked. That you not be unconscious, that you do nothing alone. Now, look, we'll all go unconscious because we get afraid of the light and we go back into full-on identification with our thoughts. So, you know, it's not about beating yourself over the head when that happens. It's not about how many times you get, you know, lost to the darkness. It's about how many times you go back to the light. That's what counts. And so, you know, the thing is that, as Ken said, it's not about choosing against the ego and choosing the Holy Spirit. So it's the miracle shows that you're choosing. In other words, you're looking at your thoughts and you're realizing that I can choose peace instead of this. I can choose to not be the body. And I don't want to. Well, that's still the miracle, all right? Because you know you're choosing.
Okay.
All you have to do is know I can choose peace instead of this. I don't want to, but I know I can. That's your miracle right there, Susan.
And I don't have to figure out psychologically where it's all coming from, because I just read a post from someone who I thought they were saying that, and I got confused. Like, do I have to feel it to the nth degree and then with Jesus, or give it to Jesus, or understand it where it, you know, it's what part of this childhood or unconscious guilt is it coming from?
Okay, people understand this differently, right? You will encounter lots of people talking about unearthing, you know, beliefs. Now, look, that's a very helpful thing to do. I would be a big fan of Byron Katie and her work. That's how she would do it. You know, is it true?
Okay.
Do I really know it's true? How do I feel when I believe this? And how do I feel when I let it go? So that's a very valid, you know, spiritual tool. And I sometimes use it myself. In terms of the Course, lots of people would say the Course is about, well, what's my belief there, and looking at that with Jesus. Okay, that's fine. I don't teach it that way because Ken never thought it that way. I guess, which is in some ways ironic, considering he was a psychologist, you know,
Yeah.
and a psychotherapist. I mean, you know, Jesus says in the Course that there's no need to follow the circuitous routes of the ego. Now, that's not to say it's not helpful, because it is. But the way you can short circuit that is by understanding, if you understand every problem is the same. So it's not so much what the belief is as much as understanding that's my wrong self. That's my wrong mind. So if you want to,
That's
you can sort of
better.
like, yeah.
It is. The other doesn't work. It's not as effective for me. So I prefer what you just said. That works better for me.
You know, in the psychotherapy pamphlet, Jesus says that, you know, you can know, he's like he's saying you can know what the guilt in your mind is almost by the symptom that you're experiencing in your body. So I guess, you know, and what he means by that is that, well, if you're having, you know, difficulty with your legs, it could be that you're having difficulty standing up for yourself in life. Or if you're having difficulties with your heart, that you may be having difficulties with, like, you know, holding on to a broken heart. So that's what he means by that, right? So he does actually make that statement in the psychotherapy principle, in the psychotherapy pamphlet. But he says that's not going to heal. So knowing that getting to the root cause of your symptoms, that doesn't heal. And so what heals is knowing that you're not the wrong mind, that you're not the body.
Yeah. Right.
So I would just say, have your two minds present. You know,
Yep.
Forgiveness is looking at right-mindedness, I should say, is looking at your wrong mind without judging it. So that all that means is your two minds are present instead of just one.
Ah. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. That's a perfect
Yeah.
answer. As
So
always.
we're only ever bringing the wrong mind to the right mind. We're only ever bringing the darkness to the light. You know. So I seem to be upset, but the world isn't real, and I'm not a body, and I'm not my thoughts. Just hold both awarenesses at the same time. The me that can look at this with Jesus isn't upset, but the me I'm looking at is upset. Well, that's all you do. Because if you bring the darkness to the light will shine it away. But it's the light's job. It's got nothing to do with us. As egos, we can't do anything and shouldn't try to do anything. We'll only be in the Holy Spirit's way. So again,
Thank you.
The holy instant does not require that you've no thoughts that are not pure, just none that you would keep. So, it doesn't matter that we're like all upset and, broken and damaged. All we have to be willing to do is let that go. Even if we can't right now, be willing to let it go. And then what we do is join with that symbol of perfect love in our mind, go to that place of peace in our mind at the same time that we're experiencing the brokenness and the pain and the sadness and the emptiness and the loss. We just have the light on in your mind with the darkness, and then let the light do its job, if that makes sense.
No, that's what I finally ended up doing after a long time of listening to you, and that finally clicked, and that does help. It is helping me for sure.
Yeah, because the mistake
so
everyone makes is that they fight the darkness. They think they have to fight the darkness. They think they have to let the darkness go themselves. That's the mistake everyone makes. Instead, all we do is have the light on in your mind and be with the light, looking at the darkness.
That was a huge shift, and it does make a difference. And let me just ask you, like the earthquake that just happened in Syria and Turkey. I'm sending love, but at the same time, you look at it with the light with Jesus, but at the same time, I'm sending love. I want to be making it real. So I know you've talked about this before, but that's an interesting thing, isn't it?
It is
the best
look,
way to.
Yes. Ultimately, if you're sending light and love, that's magic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it says there's a problem in the world and I need to do something in the world instead of in my mind. So the miracle is a return to my mind. And if I return to my mind, I have the understanding that this is all made up, that I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
So
then I'm trying to say how it's a given world. Okay. Because you don't want to.
So what you do is you want to fall back and experience the part of your mind that's not Susan in a body, in a world that was born, that can die. You want to step back where Jesus is, where you can be the awareness of that and experience that part of yourself. And then once you know that's what I am, that's what everyone is.
That's such a great answer. Oh, that helped me so much.
That's what extends from your mind into everyone's mind. Because again, dream figures, will come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. But, the miracle worker, the teacher of God, is not deceived by what he sees. He knows everyone's safe. He knows Christ is safe. So, supposing people are trapped in rubble, or supposing people have died traumatically, if you're like going, oh my God, that's awful. What you're doing is you're confirming to your mind that they're bodies, which means you're confirming to your own mind that you're a body. And what you're doing is you're confirming to their minds, you have been traumatized. This has happened to you. So instead, what you want to do is you want to find your peace. You want to forgive away all your fear and judgments and upset. You want to forgive all that away so that there's a peace and love present in your mind. And then to know that peace and love is in everyone else's mind. And when you know that, then that peace and love cannot but be in those people's minds.
Yeah, gosh, boy, I get that intellectually, but man, I got a ways to go to get there. But that's
but don't turn that into something Trojan. Don't turn that. All you do is you look at how much you're not doing that, and you forgive yourself for it. That's all you do.
Okay.
Okay. You just look
my
at.
God.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that go ahead. That was that's the perfect way to handle that. Thank you. You just know, you know the right answer.
Yeah, because Jesus says it, it takes two people to agree that someone is sick and separate. It takes two people to agree. And so the miracle worker doesn't agree. That doesn't make you cold and indifferent. It does not do that. It would not stop you from being incredibly helpful and supportive in whatever way you felt guided within the dream. You just wouldn't be making it real. In your mind, nothing suffers. I'm the Son of God and he can suffer nothing. And that's what you hold as your truth in your mind, even as you're alleviating suffering in the dream. You're not making it real. You would do whatever is loving and helpful in the dream and in whichever way you're guided, but you're not making it real. All the time in your mind, this is all made up. All is well. Yeah. So where should we go next, Eli? Who's next in the queue?
Okay, I wanted to share what Stephanie has put in the chat. Since Susan was talking about thoughts and stuff. Anyway, none of my thoughts meaning anything. I think you mean anything. You have to invalidate your thoughts before you can forgive them. If I read that correct. All righty. So from there,
I think and that's that's what Jesus is teaching us in the lessons, is that these thoughts don't mean anything at all, and these are not my real thoughts. When I think I'm thinking, my mind is blank. Now, it doesn't mean that we fight our thoughts, but it means that we'll bring them to Jesus. So that's what we do. We bring our thoughts to Jesus, and what that means in practice is that we're looking at them with no judgment. And the part of us that can look at our thoughts with no judgment is not our thoughts. So the part of Keith that can look at him without judging him isn't Keith. It's a non-ego presence. It's what I am above the battleground with Jesus. It's my right mind as opposed to my wrong mind. And we just bring the two together. We just bring the darkness to the light. But we don't fight the darkness or trying to change the darkness or anything like that. So thanks for that, Stephanie. That's perfect.
Okay, and from here we can go to Kirsty. You can unmute yourself. Are you still there?
Yeah, hi, sorry.
There you are.
Hi, Kirsty.
Yeah, hi, Keith. Yeah, before when you were talking about the miracle principle, the first miracle principle, you were talking about how Jesus can, kind of be quite contradictory, or seem to be quite contradictory. And then you said something,
never in content, but in form.
Yeah. And then you said something about how it's almost as if he doesn't want us to grasp hold of anything too.
Yes, concepts, yes.
And that's how it certainly seems to me. But in the text, in the third chapter, he actually says, and I've never understood why he says this. He says, I've made every effort to use words that are almost impossible to distort.
Yeah.
But it's always possible to twist symbols around if you wish. And I'm thinking that's a bit rich of Jesus, really, considering
I'm not gonna argue with you there. I made a meme about that, quite some time ago in the group. I always laugh when I read that. Okay, a right-minded way of understanding that is that this is really simple. We go back to miracle principle number 1. There's no order of difficulty of miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All you do is you forgive illusions. Okay, so the message is very simple, and he says it in lots of different ways. But the message is really simple. You look at illusions, and you allow the miracle to reveal to your mind that the devastation you're seeing is not true. That you dream a dream and its content is not true. So the message of the Course is really simple, and that's what's behind all the iambic pentameter and the blank verse and the treble and quadruple negatives and the Shakespearean type writing and the contradictions in form. Behind all that is the simplicity of the message, which is that, if you look at the darkness, it will disappear. If you join with the light and look at the darkness, if you remember that you're dreaming, it can have no effect on you. But yes, I totally get it, Kirsty. I always laugh when I read that section as well.
So what do you think you put it in for, though? I mean, I don't get how is that remark helpful? I don't get it.
I think what he wants to emphasize is that the message is really simple. The message is really simple, which is that none of this is real. What's actually happening right now is that you are awake in heaven, one with God, and extending God. That's what's happening right now. Your wrong mind tells you that you are something else, somewhere else, with others, and things are happening, and it's just a complete lie. And all you have to do is you have to stop being at the effect of the dream. You have to lucid dream. You have to allow the dream and everything in it to be exactly what it is, with no desire to be different, because you're only dreaming. And when you can do that, you've undone all your guilt and your separateness, and you are aware of what's always been true, which is that you are one with God, extending God. So the message is incredibly simple. But I'm not going to argue with the issue you're taking with the way he says that there. I always find it funny as well. But the right-minded way to understand what he's saying is that the message is incredibly simple.
Okay, thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay, Keith, we can go to the chat. Mary J. She says, should we take the happy parts of the dream to Jesus and the Holy Spirit, as these are the aspects of my dream figure that keeps me stuck in the illusion? It seems easier to take the negative experiences.
It seems, okay, intellectually, it might seem that way. Actually, it can be the opposite. I've said from the very beginning that I have benefited most from being with Jesus in my mind, knowing it's all made up, at the easier times in my life, the happier times in my life. I actually, I think it's hardest to go and join with the light in your mind when you're like suffocating and drowning in your own darkness. So that's just my experience, and that's why I always say to people, don't wait to join with Jesus or the Holy Spirit when your life is in the toilet, for the love of God. If you can't do it when your life's going well, how the hell would you do it when you're drowning in the darkness and wanting to be a victim? So I think the greatest spiritual discipline is being with Jesus in your mind and sharing your joys with him. When you gather with family or friends or animals, that he's there with you. And that you know that the whole thing is made up and the only thing that's real is love. And that by joining with him in your mind, you feel the fact that you're joined with everyone else. Now, do we have to forgive the good stuff? Well, we do. Because again, you know, nothing is right or good or bad or big or smaller. Ultimately, it's all the one movie. Ultimately, we have to realize it's all a movie. And ultimately, we have to get to a place. It's like Jesus was saying. Let me see if I can find that quote that we had. I won't waste time looking at it, but really we have got to get to a place where we're not actually seeing a difference between a sick body and a healthy body. It's all just a movie. You know, so, you know, we can watch Tom Cruise in the movie where his body is broken and disabled and, you know, and we can watch that, but we can know, but Tom Cruise is an actor in Hollywood, like he's not actually experiencing those difficulties. And that's what we do. That's what we do with everyone in our life. It's like you're watching a movie where people have a body that's dying, but you know they're like a Hollywood actor that is playing that role, but is perfectly safe. So to answer your question, because I feel like I'm going off point slightly, yes, we do have to forgive the good stuff as much as the bad stuff. And if you start doing it, you'll realize it's easier to do the good stuff than the bad stuff. But if you do it with the good stuff, it's really going to stand to you when you've got to do it with the bad stuff. So again, you know, my experiences of, you know, the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind,
Thank you.
where I
Ooh,
experienced
figured I'd
that
have my
most
pumpkin later.
profoundly.
Sorry.
Where I experienced that most profoundly is actually when life's going swim, when I'm out for a walk, you know, or I'm walking in a park, or I'm spending time with friends. Often that's the time where I can most profoundly feel that love and peace and joy in my mind. You don't really experience that in your mind when you're like in the middle of forgiving something, where like, you know, you're really in the throes of it. If anything, you're kind of trying to remember what it is like and to hold that idea in your mind at the same time as the darkness that's going on. So yes, I would say, for the love of God, everyone, and the most powerful spiritual thing you can do is bring Jesus with you everywhere and know he's with you. And if you do that, you'll feel your connectedness with everyone and everything. And that's what will really stand to you when you have to do the bad stuff. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Where should we go next, Eli?
Okay, I'll just share what Stephanie said in the chat.
Yeah.
It's you take whatever is coming up that is either blocking sight, negative thoughts, or shadow to sight, positive thoughts. None of them are true. Work with the clay in front of you, which is whatever is coming up in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
thought that
whatever's
was-
coming, yeah, whatever's coming up in the moment is what we've asked for. Now, obviously, we've asked for it because we want to feel like the innocent victim because of the guilt in our mind of being separate. So we will ask, you know, for an accident. We'll ask for a sickness. We will ask to be in the wrong place at the wrong time with someone who's having a bad day. We will ask for that. We will unconsciously look out for it. We will unconsciously send out the hungry dogs of fear looking for situations that will turn me into the innocent victim. And when it happens, I'm going to have emotion happen. And it seems like that emotion is happening, that response is happening as an effect of the, you know, accident or difficult circumstances that has just transpired. But that's not true. I mean, cause and effect in the dream I mean, in heaven, cause and effect is one. They cannot be separate. But in the dream, cause and effect are separate and reversed. So when I have something happen, like I'm attacked verbally or physically or something like that, and all the emotion that comes up, in actual fact, that emotion was there first and caused me to choose that situation. And if I don't forgive it, it'll cause another situation. But if I do forgive it, I've undone the guilt that caused that situation. And I've released myself from the need to experience similar situations in the future, or to choose similar situations in the future as a way of escaping my guilt. So whatever is coming up in the moment is what I've asked for. In my wrong mind. And then the emotions that I'm experiencing are actually the reason why I asked for it. So if I can forgive those emotions, that's what undoes my guilt. Very good. Thank you. That's Stephanie. Where shall we go next then, Eli?
Michael, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi there, y'all. Last couple of weeks have been kind of weird in the course groups on Facebook, with a lot of arguing back and forth. And,
Shocker.
oh, yes. And I'm too tired during the week to respond to them, but I read some of the comments, and it's a good thing, because on the weekend when I have rest, I can rest in the theater with Jesus and look on it differently. And then if I choose to respond, my response is a lot better and not full of judgment. In any case, that happened this week, and my response, I made 2 responses, and I felt like I was a different person when I did that, because it felt that I don't know how to explain this, but I felt more like I was connected with Jesus in that sense. I was saying things in a less than judgmental way. And but now the main point is, everything that I've been seeing is pointing me towards what you were talking about today, and towards what the third principle of miracles talks about: love. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. So I've been pointed to love so many times in the last couple of weeks. I might get emotional here.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I was picking my wife up from church, and earlier you just said, look to heaven, and that the love in heaven is the love to look at. I heard these sounds when I was waiting for her at church. I looked around, and then I looked up, metaphorically, heaven, and I saw hundreds of geese flying around in circles, intermingling different groups. I got so emotional. I almost started crying in front of my wife's home health aide as I went to tell them about the experience. But, and then when you mentioned look to heaven, I laughed, because that's exactly what I did. I looked up. But the message keeps coming back, and you reinforced it today. And it applies to all of those negative comments on the Facebook groups. Look to the love. Go to the theater with Jesus. Rest in God. Take Jesus with you everywhere you go. All of these things are reinforcing for me right now the message that I'm being given. And the fact that you brought it up today in several different ways reinforces that for me. But I'd like to have your comments and others as well on how one would deal with the very judgmental and negative comments of course students in these Facebook and other posts.
Okay, I mean, look, that's something we all have to deal with. If I had like a penny for every time I wrote a post and deleted it, because what you need to understand is that there's nothing outside of our mind. Okay, there's nothing there. It doesn't mean anything. It means whatever meaning you have projected onto it. which is your own unconscious stuff. And so it's not, you know, Jesus says to us over and over and over again in the Course, it's not our job to do a correction. That's the Holy Spirit's job. Because I don't know what anything's for. How could I go about deciding what to correct when I don't know what anything is for? So I'm absolutely useless in this situation. And you know, ultimately, even forgiveness, I don't do forgiveness. That's the Holy Spirit's job. All I do is, you know, choose to join with the Holy Spirit in my mind, and his light will shine away the darkness. And so I often am going, I can't let this stand. I've got to answer this. And then I have to realize that's my ego, because there's nothing out there. And ultimately, I think that ideally we would, in a situation like that, we wouldn't respond with anything. What we would do is we would join with love and peace in our mind, and we would understand, and we would allow that to express itself through us in a way that is the most helpful for everyone concerned in a situation. But I can't see, I mean, I am constantly, my big thing is realizing that there are, you know, a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but it's necessary. And so, you know, that's where we have all the different religions of the world. But that's why we also have people understanding the Course at many different levels and in many different ways. And, you know, Jesus is very specific that all things work together for good, except in the ego's judgment.
You gave that answer to rest in love and peace, and that applies to every single situation that was mentioned here today. And I think that pretty much enters our lives.
Yeah,
so
I think when you read, when you look at another religion, or you look at another interpretation of the Course, or anything along those lines, when you have the ego for your teacher, he's going to say that's wrong and you're right, and you need to go and put them straight now, and you need to make that right. Okay, but when you look at other religions and you look at other interpretations of the Course, and you do it with the Holy Spirit, what you can see is that that's helpful for a certain rung of the ladder. And again, if I think otherwise, then I'm not believing Jesus when he says all things work together for good, except in the ego's judgment. All I ever have to do is trust that the Holy Spirit is at work in everyone's life and in every circumstance and in every situation, and that even the darkness serves the light. Because that's what the Holy Spirit does. Yeah, the Holy Spirit takes what our ego has wrote to damn and condemn and keep in hell, and the Holy Spirit has reinterpreted it for salvation. So even the darkness is serving the light. So I think ideally in situations where we would be involved in a discussion, I'm not saying you should never be involved in a discussion, but ideally what we want to do is do so from a place of peace. And definitely not from a place where I'm right and they're wrong and I should fix them, because that's definitely listening to the wrong teacher. So remember, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself, which is none of this is real. So I have peace in my mind by not seeing everyone as wrong, by not seeking to change the world instead of changing my mind about it. It's always just about me getting rid of all that and getting down to the peace. And if I can get down to the peace and the love, that's extending itself to the minds of all my brothers. That's what's truly helpful. And then maybe there's a few words I might write on an opinion, but I'm not going to be trying to make someone wrong. Yeah. That's how
thank you very much for that, because you explained it in a very succinct manner where I've been piecing things together from different resources. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's such spiritual specialness is such an insidious specialness, and I'm very cautious with myself constantly in it, because it's such an easy trap to fall into, and you notice yourself doing it in terms of you know, well, I have this right and somebody else has this wrong, and it's just spiritual. At the end of the day, Jesus says salvation is nothing more than the escape from concepts.
Mhm.
And, A Course in Miracles is just a collection of concepts. Nothing in the Course in Miracles is true. It's all concepts. And nothing I've said here today is true. And nothing anyone with any ideas about the Course and their interpretations, none of it's true. The only thing that's true is abstract, non-specific, and personal love. And that's the experience that all the concepts can point towards. But we don't want to get caught up in, it's like, it's like a finger pointed at the moon. If you stare only at the finger, you miss all the heavenly glory. And that's what Jesus is saying when he's saying, that you cannot have a universal theology, but a universal experience you can. So even contradictory religions, even contradictory Course interpretations, all just concepts and wrong, but even though they say different things, they can lead towards the same experience of abstract, non-specific, and personal love. Yeah, that's how I would see it. Where should we go next then, Eli?
Hey, in the chat, this is from Tracy. She asked, is forgiving good and bad stuff same as letting it? Let me try that one again. Is forgiving good and bad stuff same as letting go?
Okay, forgiving good and bad stuff together. I mean, we forgive both. And the idea is that we're with Jesus in our mind, knowing the whole thing is made up. That's the idea. That's how you remain above the battleground with Jesus, is that you're with Jesus in your mind, knowing this is all made up, forgiving it. So that's that. In terms of letting go, it's not really much. It's not so much a Course term, letting go, unless you qualify it in some way. Would you like to qualify that in some way, Tracy? Do you mean letting go of your thoughts or letting go of your?
It's just a spiritual practice that I've done over years, like Buddhism and stuff. And it's like letting go is you're just letting go of the thoughts and letting reality be as it is. So you don't hold on. You don't hold on to any judgments and thoughts. You let it go. It was just when you were mentioning good and bad early, and I'm thinking, is it the same experiences?
I mean,
just another word, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the Course is definitely not a course in denying your emotions or pretending they're not there. It's definitely not a course in joining with the light and hiding from the darkness or pretending the darkness isn't there. That's spiritual bypassing, right? So it depends on what you mean by that, because the idea of the Course is that you bring your thoughts and your feelings to Jesus, so his light can come to bear on the darkness. And so I think the problem with, you just let your thoughts and feelings go. I think the problem with that is that
letting go then, really, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, because let me see if I can find let me see if I can quickly No, my paraphrasing is not allowing me to search for it. So let me just paraphrase. There's a part in the Course that says, do not try and let your anger and your fear and your judgment go before the holy instant. That's its job. And do not try and clear it yourself. That's the job of Jesus or the Holy Spirit, right? So yeah, I'll put that maybe in the group later on, that particular quote, because I'm paraphrasing it too much and it won't come up as a search in the book. But the idea is you bring the light to the darkness. It's not that you fight the dark. It's not that you try and let the dark go. It's not that you choose against the dark. Choosing the light means choosing to be with the light, looking at the darkness, but it doesn't mean letting the darkness go. Well, we want to bring the darkness to the light. That's what Jesus wants.
That's an old
Okay.
good practice, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, I can't find the one I want, but there's another good quote here. Now, so this is from chapter 14. The Holy Spirit asks of you but this: bring to him every secret you have locked away from him. Open every door to him and bid him enter the darkness and lighten it away. At your request, he enters gladly. He brings the light to darkness if you make the darkness open to him. But what you hide, he cannot look upon. He sees for you, and unless you look with him, he cannot see. The vision of Christ is not for him alone, but for him with you. Bring therefore all your dark and secret thoughts to him, to look upon them with him. He holds the light and you the darkness. They cannot coexist when both of you together look on them. His judgment must prevail, and he will give it to you as you join your perception to his. So there's nothing there about let your thoughts go,
No, that
let
brought
your
tears to
let
my
your
eyes, that,
feelings
thank
go.
you.
Yeah. So
That's
all you
very
want to do is
powerful.
you just want to be with Jesus in your mind at the same time as your darkness, and let him shine it away.
Yeah, I'll read chapter 14, thank you.
Yeah, because the difficulty is if we think it's about dropping all my thoughts and feelings, if we think it's about that, we're going to do a massive guilt trip on ourselves when we can't do it. Okay. And so again, all we want to do is we want to look upon our darkness, which and what that means is that you look at it without judging yourself for it. You allow it to be there and you look at it without judging yourself to it. That's you with the light. And that will undo the darkness. It can't, but as Jesus says, they cannot coexist. All you got to do is have the light there with the darkness. And again, in practical terms, it just means that you're looking on the devastation of your life. You're looking, on the devastation of your thought system. And the miracle reminds you that what you see is false, that you dream a dream and its content is not true. And so we just want to have the light on in our mind and be there with the light, allowing and looking at the darkness. And the darkness can't stand against that. It cannot stand against not fighting it. See, if you fight the darkness, you've made it real. Okay, so there's no, how can you, end the darkness that you've made real?
It's just I've been practicing that for years, but that just totally has hit something deep.
Yeah, but no, I want you to listen to your own inner teacher. Like never take what I or any other teacher says to you as a gospel for what's right for your spiritual path, right? Because you've been doing this for years. I just want you to listen to what I'm saying, and if it resonates with you, then you take that on board. But check in with your inner teacher first of all. Yeah. But the whole idea is that you don't want to fight your own darkness, and you don't want to be trying to get rid of it. All you want to do is you want to join with your symbol of perfect love in your mind, which is Jesus or the Holy Spirit, and let them do it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, super, thank you.
Good. Where should we go next, Eli?
Okay, I've forgotten her name, but iPhone 31050203039. Go ahead.
Gloria.
Hi,
So
Gloria.
just before you start there, Gloria, can I just check with you, Eli, that it's just Gloria and Stephanie and Lloyd? That's all we have left?
Well, we've got stuff in the chat still.
Okay, right. How many have we got in the chat?
I'm
here too.
Oh,
Hi,
no, not George.
We don't see your hand, but we will acknowledge your imaginary hand.
Oh, okay.
So you're in the queue. That's fine. Okay, so we have. I'll let you collate there, Eli. We'll go
Yeah,
with
sorry,
Gloria,
there
and
are a
then we
few
go with
more.
Stephanie.
There's 2 or
Yeah,
3
no
in the
problem.
chat.
Okay, all right. Just because we're coming up to time. Well,
Yes.
we're past time already, but let's see it through. So Gloria, nice and succinctly, let's go.
Oh, now you're going to make me mess it all up. Okay.
We don't want a 15-minute monologue.
Okay.
Go for it.
So for me, love only gives. And so what does that mean in my life? Whatever I am, wherever I go, I'm the maximum service to other. And when I bless the world, I bless myself. So what I give, I receive. And those were always ideas, but as I practice them, it really is true. And everything's a blessing. Every experience. And I just, the course, I just can't talk about it enough. And I don't talk about the course to other people. I just am the course. You know, I love only gives, love only, I'm happy. I bless people with the miracle that was given me. And, you know, in the course it says, never forget you give but to yourself. And when I couldn't give love to myself, I would give it to others. And then I would see the love in them that they were giving it to me. And it's like, if I expect everyone to give it to me, I don't get it. But if I give it, I get it. And I'm always asking, what can I do? What can I do to wake up out of the dream? What can I do to end this nightmare? You know, that was what I used to say before. And now I just want to know where I could be of maximal assistance, because there are so many things in the dream that are happening that are so negative, and it's like, where is God? Well, God is in my mind, and I can't affect the world outside of me, but whatever is in front of me, I can leave it kinder and gentler and cleaner and happier than it was before. And I noticed that because I'm doing that, it's having a profound effect on where I work and where I live, and it's just beautiful. So was that a monologue? I don't know. I just
Okay,
can't say enough about
beautiful.
the course.
Just to tweak that, it's really important to understand that we seek not to change the world, but to change our mind about the world. So we don't want to attack people's minds by agreeing with them that they're victimized, by agreeing with them that they're a body that's sick, by agreeing with them that they're a body that's dying. We don't want to attack people's minds with that. What we want to do is we want to get to the peace and stillness and love in our own mind by forgiving all of our judgments and all of our fear and all of our anxiety and all of our thinking that there needs to be something done when there doesn't, because there's nothing to do about illusions. So we get down to the peace in our minds, and then that peace shines into the minds of all our brothers. Okay, and yes, then at that point, we'll just know what is a helpful and loving thing to do within the dream. But we're not going to make that important, because it's just a dream and everything is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the maximal service you can do to your brother is to forgive him and to forgive his illusions, which isn't to say, oh my God, you are suffering because you're a body, and behold me, who will save you from it. It's quite important not to do that. And I think it's very human when we hear about something like an earthquake and our heart goes out to the victims and we empathize with the ego in them. We empathize with the body. And that's where we have to choose again. That's where we have to join with the Holy Spirit in our mind and remember, hang on, I'm not a body and I'm not in the world, and the world's not real, and none of my brothers are either. And again, feeling that peace and love within my mind. And then as I'm looking at the news programs, that my two minds are present. So my wrong mind is making it real and getting upset or getting anxious, but my right mind knows it's all made up. So I would say, I need do nothing is such an important thing from the course. I need do nothing. There's nothing to be done about illusions except to realize they're illusions and forgive them, and not be at the effect of them where they have any effect on you. But now that doesn't mean you don't do anything for people that think they are bodies, but you don't do it yourself. What you want to do is you want to connect with the peace and the stillness and the love in your mind where you know there's no problems. Okay, and that's above the battleground with Jesus. And then what you want to do is let him work through you in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, but not because it's like necessary or any of your business what happens through you, really. We should have no investment in it. We should just allow what comes through come through. But we never want to agree with our brothers that they're bodies. That's what we were covering in lesson 1 today. We never want to agree with a brother that he's a body and therefore sick and therefore was born and therefore will die, or that he's suffering, or that he had a terrible death, because he hasn't, because nobody is a body. Nobody's an ego. So the way we come to know ourselves as not a body, free and still as God created us, is to see that in all of our brothers.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, it makes total sense. And for me, it's I get a lot of practice because I'm a nurse and I'm taking care of bodies, and they have the fear of death, and I do not see them as a body, and I do not see death as what it is. And there's something that comes through to them, and I had one gentleman, he asked me, where do you get this peace? Where is this? And I told him, and he went and got the book, and he, you know, and now he wants to talk to me, but I don't really talk about the course. I just let, like you said, let the spirit work through. And
absolutely.
And I obviously, if I'm seeing all of this and I am a nurse, I'm working on my body identification and forgiving that I think I'm a body. Yeah. So I get a lot of practice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed to hear
Perfect.
that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gloria. Where should we go next, Eli?
Stephanie and Lloyd, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Go for it.
I just wanted to address Michael here about his experience with the geese, because Jesus has used geese with me many times, because you know, Jesus used symbols in the world, you know, to communicate with us. And, you know, that's been a part of my journey, is symbols in the world that Jesus has used that knows that I will understand. And one of them is geese. And to realize, you know, how geese fly in a V formation. And then there's that lead geese, the lead goose or whatever it is out in front. And I always consider that goose as being Jesus and leading us all home. But here's the kicker. With geese, every one of those geese takes a front position when the other one gets tired. Wow. They're cutting the way, they're making the way a little easier, they're breaking the wind, so to speak, and they all follow one another. And here's another thing that many people don't realize about geese, that it's been noted that during hunting season, when people do hunt geese sometimes, that if a geese is wounded, 2 other geese will go down and try and lift that goose up, even though it's wounded. And if they can't, they will stay with it till it passes away. So I just thought you share that little story with you, because geese can tell us a lot.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you.
So we have some chat box to tie up, Eli.
Actually, there's only one left in the chat. And so you're going to get to your dinner pretty soon. It's from Marina. How do you let go of a really bad experience? It looks to me that to be able to let it go means you're really halfway through.
Yeah, but it's not about letting it go. That's not what it's about. It's about bringing it to Jesus. It's about joining with that's, you know, that love and peace in your mind, and having that love and peace in your mind at the same time that you're experiencing the darkness of what happened.
I agree, because many times I hear this, let go, let it go, let this thing go. It's not about letting it go. No. As far as I understand the course, is bringing the darkness out.
bring in the darkness to the light. You know, do nothing with the light. It's none of your business. Jesus wants you to bring it to him in your mind.
Right.
All he wants
Right.
to do is for you, you know, look, it's like it says here in the
Because I understand I cannot let it go.
yeah, so here's
It's
where
not
it
my
says,
function to let it go.
at your request, he enters gladly, which means you join with him in your mind and you look at the darkness without judging yourself for it. And he brings the light to darkness if you make it open to him.
Right. Okay.
And here's the important part. He holds the light and you the darkness.
Yeah.
So it's not saying drop the darkness, forget the darkness, let the darkness go. It's saying he has the light and you have the darkness. Bring your darkness to him with the light and they can't coexist.
Can I ask a very quick question, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
When you are almost going into, you can pick up a fight, you know it before. Is it like skipping some steps to say, okay, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because I know I will pick up a fight. So just avoid the situation, step back, just don't go into it. Is it a good
I
trick?
think that, okay, so the course is not about rules of thumb, okay? What it really says is go, join with Jesus and the Holy Spirit above the battleground or in the cinema, and from that space, make a decision on what the most appropriate thing to do is. So sometimes fights might be appropriate. You could definitely have a right-minded fight, but we don't want to have a rule of thumb about it. So I wouldn't get caught up. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it not? Is it? I mean, what I would say is join with the peace of your teacher in your mind, and from there you'll just know whether it's appropriate to get involved or not involved, or what the most helpful and loving thing to do is.
Yeah, but sometimes the blood is boiling. So
Yeah, but
you have this movement and you
Yeah,
know that it's going to be a bad situation. So sometimes I feel maybe I just can shut up and step back and don't do anything as an emergency rule. Then I can go into the quiet and ask Jesus after, not in the moment. I'm not at that point already.
Yeah, but don't, you see, when you say I'm not at that point as ready, is because you're not really understanding how simple it is. All you have to do is call your symbol of perfect love into your mind, Jesus. All you have to do is think of him. All you have to do is be aware of him as a loving presence in your mind. That's all you have to do. You do not have to stop your blood boiling. You do not have to stop ranting and raving and shouting. You don't have to do any of that. But as you're doing it, you bring Jesus into your mind and you notice what it is that you're doing. Okay, you just notice what it is that you're doing. You notice that your blood is boiling and you're ranting and raving and that you're raring for a fight. You just notice it all and you're noticing with Jesus. Just don't go through anything on your own. Don't make any decisions as an ego. Don't make any decisions as a separate and sane voice talking to itself in your mind. Just, you know, and don't fight it. Just have Jesus there at the same time and just touch base with that stillness and love in your mind in the midst of all the darkness.
It's just because I really suffer a lot. If I do go into the fight, I know I'm gonna be very bad. I'm gonna feel very bad. So it's like an emergency safety.
Okay, well, look, until you've learned how to check in with Jesus for everything, in terms of what the right thing to do is, that sounds like a reasonable way for you to make decisions in the shorter term. But what I'd like you to consider would be just that, you know, connecting with Jesus in our mind is not a problem, unless we've fallen into the trap of thinking I'm not worthy, I'm too ashamed of how I'm behaving and how I'm feeling, that I'm not a good course student. Provided you let all that go by forgiving yourself, it's not a problem to call to mind your symbol of perfect love and peace. So as you're practicing that and learning how to do that, even in the midst of your madness, in the midst of your darkness, as you're learning to do that, and until it's something you can do comfortably, then it seems reasonable then that if you're going to be upset by getting in a fight, that you don't. But we want to work towards a situation where we don't make any decisions on our own, ideally.
Okay,
Is that
thank
all
you
right?
very much, Kit.
Good. Okay, so we will leave it there for this week, and we will continue with our miracle principles, and we should get through a few more next week than this week. So thank you everyone for joining us. I may have a problem with next Sunday. I might have a conflict, so I will update in the group during the week. But even if we do, you can catch me on Miracle Monday. Monday week with Stephanie and Lloyd. People always ask me about special relationships and special love and special hate and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And so I thought it was a good opportunity maybe to talk about that in Miracle Monday. And so if I don't see you next Sunday, again, I'm not sure yet, then come and join us on Miracle Monday with the lovely Stephanie and Lloyd.
Thank you for mentioning it.
So, no problem at all. Looking forward to it, guys. And thank you everyone for your attention, and whatever else you're going to do with your Sunday, do it with Jesus.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Thank
Yes, I'll be
you.
packing for
Thank
Mexico.
you.
Wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.